The Nike Air Zoom Tempo Next Percent, a training partner to the Alphafly, or that distant relative that no one likes? Hey guys, Ed Budd here and welcome back to the channel. It's very good of you to join me here in the Shoe Sanctuary, a place full of many running shoes, some of which Mrs. Ed Budd knows about. Don't worry though, Beast will never reveal my secrets. She knows what's good for her. She wants more GoCat, she knows what's good for her. So where does the Tempo Next Percent fit into a runner's rotation? Having scanned lots of internet reviews and trawled through lots of social media posts, it does seem like the Tempo Next Percent is a bit of a Marmite shoe. You either love it or you don't. Some people have even sent the shoe back after one run and just said it didn't work for them. I know Tim Gross was even contemplating tearing the shoe up using a chainsaw or some other device. Before I get into this video, I do have to say I'm amazed at some runners' ability to review the shoe without ever wearing it. I think that's a pretty incredible skill to have, don't you think, viewers? No need to test shoes ever again, just listen to the trolls on the internet. If you haven't done so already guys, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications of when I launch those new videos. So where does the Tempo Next Percent fit into Nike's running shoe lineup? I've grabbed the Turbo 2, the Zoomfly 3, the Next Percent and the Alphafly from the archives to match them up against this shoe and kind of see where this fits. So up against the Turbo 2, the Tempo Next Percent is by far the heavier of the shoes. There's about 50 grams weight difference between the two. Obviously that Tempo Next Percent is by far the more rigid of the two shoes, but we do have a React and ZoomX sandwich here which is similar to the midsole of the Tempo Next Percent. I think many people thought the Tempo Next Percent was going to be a replacement for this shoe, but it doesn't seem that way now. I think the Turbo 2 is by far more versatile of a running shoe, though I do think the fit's more preferable for me in the Tempo Next Percent. That toe box is just ginormous on the Turbo 2. They couldn't be any more different in terms of the toe box feel. Tempo Next Percent's a bit more constrictive, but with this one it just feels you've put your foot into a balloon almost. Not that I've ever done that. Seems like it might be similar in my weird twisted mind. It's the heat. Sorry guys, the heat's getting to me. End of summertime and England's 27 degrees C again. It's just bizarre. I'd suggest the weight difference alone is going to stop a lot of people from bothering to test the Tempo Next Percent out, if they're fans of this shoe anyway. 258 grams, I mean it's a huge difference between this and the Tempo Next Percent. I found the Turbo great up to about 10 miles or so, but then the forefoot, midfoot area here just began to bottom out a little bit. Not the most stable of shoes either in the heel. I think the Tempo Next Percent probably hold out better on long runs actually, due to those Zoom Air pods and the React in the heel. Just think the fit of the upper is a little bit better. The Tempo Next Percent isn't a shoe that's felt good to me at all at those lower speeds or lower paces. I think the Turbo's probably the better of the two shoes if you're looking for something you can use on a more daily basis. It's just not going to feel anywhere near as punishing on recovery efforts during interval runs. Yeah, the Turbo is a little bit more expensive than the Tempo Next Percent, but I don't feel that the Tempo Next Percent is a replacement for this shoe. How about the Tempo Next Percent up against the Zoomfly 3? I think against the Zoomfly 3, we've actually got a more similar feel. The forefoot rubber, certainly in the Zoomfly 3 and the Tempo Next Percent, share that quite solid feel on impact. I think the similar grip and underfoot feel on road and pavement surfaces, certainly. The upper was a big miss for me on the Zoomfly 3, just too large in certain areas and I just couldn't get a really nice fit over the top of my forefoot. The instant I put this on, it just felt so much better in terms of the lockdown. I had to hardly try to get a good lockdown in this shoe, it was so easy. I think the Tempo Next Percent leaves the Zoomfly 3 in the dust with that fitting and foot-hugging Flyknit. Well, it's a bit of a tongue twister, that one. The Zoomfly 3 was okay at tempo and above paces, but it felt really clunky at those slower, everyday, daily type paces. I think the Tempo Next Percent is actually very similar in that respect, and I'm confused as to why people are surprised at that. The Zoomfly series has never been one for those daily efforts. It's always a tempo or higher pace shoe. Great for those long runs at higher speed. And as such, I feel that the Zoomfly 3 and the Tempo Next Percent are actually very close. They've replaced the weird bottom heavy midsole with a more balanced midsole here. I think the React in the heel here and the ZoomX and AirPods in the front of the shoe make for a far more evenly weight distributed shoe. This is actually a little lighter than the Zoomfly 3 in my size. That came in at about 314 grams, 11.1 ounces. 309 grams for the Tempo Next Percent in my size, which is 10.9 ounces. So a little bit lighter. I like this shoe far more than I did the Zoomfly 3 though. A slight price increase, but I feel that it's worth it if you're looking for a replacement for the Zoomfly 3. I don't think that the Tempo Next Percent is going to replace the Next Percent. I think this shoe is going to be here to stay for some time yet. I think there are very few comparisons to draw between these two shoes. A massive gulf in terms of weight. Price, yes, this shoe's much more affordable. Still a huge cost, but it's a very different underfoot feel. I'd suggest a more foot-hugging lock actually over the top of the forefoot. This one I always found a bit like you were teetering on a tightrope. You had to get the lacing just right, and it still feels really odd to me, the upper material on this shoe. I'm not sure I'll ever be a massive fan of Vaporwave. £70 price difference here, so this shoe isn't really going to replace this one. Perhaps in a training environment, yes. So, is this shoe a great training partner for the Alphafly Next Percent? In terms of shoe usage, I can't imagine that a huge number of people will be using their Alphafly Next Percent on a daily basis for training. They're probably saving it back for fast, threshold-based training sessions and racing probably, whenever that happens again. I know there have been some races here and there, but not very many, and it looks as if predominantly based towards elite runners. I know in other parts of the world there have been some races, but here in the UK there's next to nothing. They're cancelling races if anything. I mean, the Frome half marathon's just been cancelled and I was going to try and hop onto that one. I mean, there's obviously quite a big weight difference between these two shoes. My pair of the Alphafly in the size 11 UK clock in at 260 grams, which is about 9.2 ounces. So we've got about 50 grams weight difference here between the two. In fairness, I feel the Tempo Next Percent does a reasonable job of emulating the underfoot feel of the Alphafly. I mean, it's close to the feel. I'm not saying it's the same, but I think if you wear this shoe and train in it, it's going to help provide the experience perhaps, or a similar experience that you would get if you race in this shoe. I think perhaps that's where people are finding this shoe odd. They haven't worn this shoe as of yet, and it is different. It's a different underfoot feel. I mean, we've got a layer of ZoomX, and then we've got the AirPods. The rubber maybe is a little bit different, but I don't think hugely different. Having run in the Alphafly at some higher paces, I found it to be a very well balanced shoe with an incredibly light upper. I found the massive ZoomX in the heel very compressive, but still stable. The React in the heel of the Tempo Next Percent obviously weighs a little more, though I still feel this good balance between the forefoot and the rear of the shoe. Being less rigid, the Tempo Next Percent does flex a little bit more than the Alphafly, but I think the major difference here between the two shoes is actually in the upper. This to me is where the weight difference is absolutely key, and the bulk of that 50 odd gram increase is in the materials used. I do buy a little bit into the train in a slightly heavier shoe and race in a lighter shoe theory most of the time. Although many people scoff at that these days and say you can train in a light shoe now, there's no reason to wear heavier shoes. But it's not really been that much of a problem to me. I don't really feel this shoe is that heavy on foot. I think it's better balanced than the Zoomfly 3. That shoe just felt really wrong in terms of the balance, maybe not the weight. Although not everybody is lucky enough to use the Alphafly on a regular basis for training. It is a ridiculously expensive shoe, we have to remember that. I think in terms of economy, for those wishing to limit the use of their Alphafly shoes, the Tempo Next Percent is going to be a really good, resilient option that provides a similar feel. It's going to be a durable shoe. It's going to give you a little bit of that feeling, the experience perhaps, of wearing something similar to the Alphafly. I'm not saying it's the same. There are elements here, to me, certainly, that are similar. Don't expect the experience to be exactly the same though. I don't think it is. So I feel it could fit into a position that the Zoomfly 3 has been occupying so far. I see loads of people wearing the Zoomfly 3 recently. Maybe a few more will start wearing the Tempo Nix %. What are your views on this shoe, guys? Do you feel that I'm right in terms of it replaces the Zoomfly 3? Maybe you feel this shoe's nothing like the Alphafly at all. I know a lot of people have just picked up a pair of the Alphafly. Bear in mind that I have been able to wear mine a fair amount since I picked them up in March. So I've got a reasonable amount of experience in terms of that underfoot feel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. Musical interlude time. So Fergus and I have been listening to lots of albums today to try and calm him down. He was a bit of a grumpus earlier. He kind of sleeps, he wakes up and wants to eat. Otherwise he likes listening to Neil Young, Khruangbin, Mac DeMarco and a little bit of Elliott Smith. I dug Homegrown back out again from Neil Young. It's just a really nice mellow album. Seemed the right sort of music to calm your 2-week-old baby. He seems to really like it. Little Wing is a great song on that. It's just so beautiful. Really calm, very gentle sort of song. I like the grainy country rocking on Homegrown as well. It's a really great track. Khruangbin's latest album is real mellow too. Lots of wah, lots of phasers on there. Really help to calm young Fergus's troubled mind. Well, I mean, if you call him one in another bottle of milk troubled, but he's got it pretty easy right now, right? We had Here Comes the Cowboy from Mac DeMarco. All the tunes on there are pretty chilled out, lots of acoustic stuff on there. Actually, Mac DeMarco showing what a fantastic acoustic guitar player he's become. The production's nice and pared down on that as well, just drums, bass, some occasional synths and very light use of electric guitar. And last but not least, we had Either Or from Elliott Smith. One of my favourite albums ever since I first heard it back in '98, I think it was. Or 97. Seems like only yesterday. So that's what we've been listening to today. Probably not the best running music, but it's so warm outside that you just need chilled tunes to bring down the temperature. Your eyes do not deceive you. You may have realised I'm using special technology in today's vlog, making it look like I have a brand new pair of watermelon Alphaflys here. It isn't, it's just a visual trick. It's one of those cinema tricks. It's not actually real. I can't actually touch it. Just to make you aware of that. Thanks for watching through to the very end of the video, guys. I very much appreciate it. If you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications of when we launch those new videos. It helps the channel out a huge amount as well. If you give this video a thumbs up like and also share it with your running buddies. My name's Ed Bud and I'll be seeing you